Other anomalies, these are just little things that people pick up. Occasionally you get these kind of weird substances that people find on the crop, in the crop circle. Some people call them like angel hair and things like that. No one really knows exactly what it is or how it comes about. It may be just perfectly natural, but that's, as you see, it's on something that's been sculpted in the circle, but it's got this stuff all over it. This is something again from Colin Andrews' files. These are kind of some weird anomalies that he's picked up in his years of research. You see these black objects on the side there, they just appeared in the photographs of these, and again, no one knows what they are. And there's some similar kind of things that were pictured near a crop circle. Again, I've not seen anything like that before, but in the amount of time he spent in crop circles, he was picking up all kinds of weird anomalies. Now, this is an interesting anomaly. It's an anomaly of black figures. Now, this is something that was picked up by accident by, I think, a tourist just visiting a crop circle quite recently. And that's a zoomed-in shot because they took a picture of someone at one end of the crop circle, and then they found this anomaly at the other end, which looks like a black figure. And again, they couldn't explain that because there was nobody else in the circle at the time. But black figures feature quite highly in circle makers' experiences. I've got a clip here of Matthew Williams talking about a lot of the anomalies that he's experienced as a circle maker. And these black figures feature quite a bit, and in that they just seem to be almost like, well, I wouldn't even say a ghost figure, but it's just a figure appears and seems to be taking some part in the circle making process. So I'll let you have a look at his video now.
I do believe in paranormal powers, and I've had strange things happen to me whilst making crop circles. I've also had a lot of paranormal experiences in my life, but I know this for certain. Making crop circles brought an extra level of paranormal activity in my life whilst making the circles and generally across the board. Things started happening because I was making crop circles. And I started all of this as an experiment to see, could it be done? Would the researchers take it seriously? Was the work that we were creating as good as the work of others? Would it be taken seriously, basically? And yes, it was. But even stranger than that, whilst we were making these circles, simply as an experiment, we had strange things happen to us. I've talked about this being a formation, but I've not been able to name that this was the formation it happened in. We had a fog bank come down over the field and cover us whilst we were making the formation. Now, we knew that there was a team of people who had an astronomy telescope with them. We could see them about 400 feet away. And we knew that if we worked in this field, that we would be so close to those people, they would be able to hear us and see us. It was that clear. We could see them. And we said it would be crazy to try and work that close to people who were watching that field and sky watching. And I even walked to the top of the field, walked in and confirmed that there were people there and that they would be able to see us if we did it. And I went back and I told my friend Paul, he doesn't live in the UK anymore, but I told Paul, I said, mate, it's crazy, we can't do it. We can't do it. And he said, yeah, it's just crazy, isn't it? We can't do it. And I said, do you know what though? I get this really weird feeling inside that we should do it. This is just, we're going to get caught, this is stupid, but I just get this feeling we should do it. And he said, yeah, do you know, you're saying that, I kind of feel it too. And I'm like, let's go with our feelings, let's just try and do it then. So we made this circle. We didn't specifically make any noise, we didn't shout, and you know, we just kept to ourselves. But they should have been able to see us, and they should have been able to hear something at that distance. They never came in. We got away with making the circle. I asked afterwards who that team was, because I walked through them and I had my collar up and I sort of went, evening, oh, sky watching, is it? Oh, good night. And we just went through. They didn't know who I was, but I found out who they were afterwards, asked them the question, did you see anybody making this crop circle? And they said, no, it's really weird because we had a really clear night and then all of a sudden a fog bank descended over that part of the field and we couldn't see anything. And in the morning, it lifted up and there was the crop circle. Now, I have no doubt, I don't have any reason to doubt these people's saying that. And I've experienced a lot of weird things in crop circles. Time dilation effects, rain stopping overhead so that we weren't being rained on in the crop circle whilst it was raining outside. Seeing black figures that you think are team members, and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, you're counting the team members, and you go 5. Oh, hang on. So you look around, and then you see, no, there's a team member there standing right next to me. So you look back, and then it's 1, 2, 3. You know, so it's like, hang on, there's one gone. And then people have said, yeah, I saw somebody there, and then I looked away, and then he was gone. And it's like people have seen black figures in the crop circles, which is quite interesting. There's been photographs taken of these black figures, and they seem to be blacker than the rest of the photograph. Very interesting.
Okay, so quite interesting, really, isn't it, when you start to look at the other side of the coin. I mean, that was all new to me. Looking at the crop circle makers side of the story, and there's just hundreds of this kind of story, and that was what I found amazing. And that's the area that is not being explored by the mainstream researchers, who just want to say that these people making crop circles are evil, they're disrupting our work, get them out of here, we don't want anything to do with them, and they're missing the bigger picture, I think. And there's no doubt that there's something else going on there. There's some kind of interaction with something else. And it's what that something else is that we need to look at. These two formations both appeared this year, and they both appeared on the same night, about half a mile or a mile away from each other. And they're both man-made, but neither team who made them knew anything about the other. And it was, you know, quite weird that they both came up with these spiral designs, which are almost identical, on the same night. And these kind of things happen all the time. Mental projections. I mean, this is something, again, that happens a lot. There's lots of stories about people who have meditated on certain formations, groups have meditated, individuals have meditated, only to find that that formation has appeared in the fields like days later. And this example here, this is a fantastic formation. And this design was conceived by this guy, Graham Pritchard, and his brother, I think it was. But they take the art of crop circle making very seriously, and they designed this, they planned when they were going to do it, how they were going to do it, where they were going to do it. And it was just him and his brother were going to do it one night. And then for some reason, it was his brother got ill, I think it was. He fell ill, and they decided that they would not do it. But then the following day, they checked on the internet or something like that, and they found out through somebody that this very same design, the exact same design that they had planned and written, you know, mapped it out on the paper, had appeared in the fields in exactly the same spot as they were planning to put it in. Now, how does that happen? You know, now Colin Andrews tells that story as well, because he's spoken to Graham Pritchard personally, and he swears that that is a true account of what happened. And there's no explanation as to how that can happen. You know, it certainly isn't a coincidence. There's something else going on that makes that happen. You know, whether it was another team of circle makers that did it, or there was something else, I don't know. But something was going on that made that formation happen. So the whole crop circle phenomena has come down to really a bit of a battlefield, unfortunately, between the crop circle researchers and the circle makers. And it's not really a healthy position to be in. They're two are loggerheads with each other. And I think if we're going to ever solve this, they have to recognize the role that each other play in it. And at the moment, that's not happening. And this is another video clip, actually, of Simeon Hine. And this really just summarizes the position of many of the mainstream researchers.
It's a fairly simple formation in many ways. We did it in daylight. And also present, which I sort of like to tell people the story, but you were a witness to this, also present was Linda Moulton Howe.
Right.
Linda Moulton Howe stood there and watched the whole thing, saw you getting these strange readings on your equipment and thinking, whoa, you know, this is kind of not what we were expecting, and chatting about that. And then everybody went back to this pub and had a meal, and Linda pronounced that she thought that we were CIA agents. So whereas you had kind of accepted what we were offering in terms of come out and see a circle being made, and it helped you understand your equipment and made you rethink your theories, Linda went off on a really, you know, strange tangent with all of this, and has never really wanted to speak to me since. This, you know, watching us make a circle.
Right. We found a lot of researchers are actually like that.
Yeah.
And that's a very interesting phenomenon in itself. You know, as a sociologist, it's something that we're particularly interested in, is people's beliefs about things, and are they open-minded or not? I mean, can people change their ideas with new information, or do they feel that they want to protect their interests, or what they perceive to be their interests, so they don't want to tell the truth? I was actually told by someone at the Glastonbury Crop Circle Symposium, it was actually Michael Glickman. And
right.
We happened to leave at the time as Stuart Wilde was talking. He was really drunk. And we both left at the same time and went into the Galactic Cafe across the street.
Right.
And I mean, I've never really shared this with people before, but he actually told me that, he said, listen, we had a meeting a couple days ago, and Ron and Peter have been, you know, Ron Russell and Peter Sorensen have been voted out of the group. But there's still time for you, Simeon, if you renounce man-made, your interest in man-made circles.
Really?
Yes. He said, we haven't decided about you yet, whether to expel you like we've expelled Ron and Peter. But if you renounce your interest in man-made circles, we will consider keeping you in the Wiltshire group. I mean, we all know who we're talking about here, people who are, you know, put these conferences on and so forth.
Yeah.
And he said, it's up to you. It's it's your decision. And I said, you know, Michael, I think there's something to learn from these man-made circles. I mean, there's a whole, it's interesting to me, and I intend to pursue this line of research. And he said, well, then the chips will fall where they may.
Oh dear.
And
wow.
that was the last conversation. We, we used to be friends before that and interested. We found a lot of the researchers were pretty hostile to our new point of view. And I mean, I can understand coming from where they were, why they wouldn't want to change. At the same time, it's not particularly honest to, when you do have new information, not to incorporate it into your point of view. If you consider yourself to be a modern, you know, open-minded person that, you know, is in touch with reality. And it's just interesting, though, that the researchers, the people who call themselves researchers, they say one thing to you, and they present a different idea to the public. I mean, I had one very well-known researcher, a woman who is pretty well-known and puts on conferences with her partner. And she came up to me and said, at the conference in Andover, remember there used to be one at the Cricklade College? Right?
Yes, I remember it well.
Right. She came up to me and said, you know, what's your point of view on this? What have you seen and so forth? And I told her kind of about the R and so forth. And she said, you know, ever since I made one with my partner back in 1995, we've known that they were all man-made. And I said, all of them? She said, well, most of them. I said, well, how come you don't tell people? She said, the public isn't ready.
Yeah.
The public isn't ready. And here we are, that was in year 2000, here we are 10 years later and still...
No change. Yeah, so that's really what it's all about. You know, I mean, to me that was quite a shocking video when I first saw that, and I heard all those revelations about well-known researchers. These are top names they're talking about in crop circle research. These are the people that are selling books, putting on conferences, running tours, all kinds of things. And that's where the mainstream media tends to go for the information, if they want any. And it seems to be, this is why, crop circles is a very lucrative business. Not for everybody, but for a lot of people. So there's a lot of money to be made in these kind of things. And that could explain why there's this hostility towards opening up to this man-made aspect of it, which I think is not very good. So we started with that. Or is it that? No. No comment.